Commander Zara Blackwood had spent her entire career studying the legends of the Lost Fleet, humanity's first generation of deep space warships that had vanished during the Great Exodus 3 centuries ago. Now, as her archaeological survey vessel Meridian drifted through the dead system of Kepler 186, she was staring at proof that the legends were horrifyingly real. "My God," whispered Dr. Chen Nakamura, the expedition's xenoarchaeologist, his voice barely audible through the comm system. "Commander, these readings, they can't be right." Through the reinforced viewport of the research vessel, Zara could see them, 7 massive shapes emerging from the ice rings of the system's outer planet, their hulls black as the void itself. Each ship was easily twice the size of the Empire's largest dreadnoughts, their designs predating anything in the current fleet databases by over 300 years. "Tactical analysis, Lieutenant Morrison," Zara ordered, her training overriding the awe that threatened to paralyze her. "Ma'am, the energy signatures are impossible," Morrison replied, his hands trembling over his instruments. "These ships are generating power levels that exceed our entire battle group combined. And they're not just active, they're scanning us." The lead vessel slowly rotated to face the Meridian, revealing weapon ports that could swallow their research ship whole. Along its hull, ancient Earth script became visible: UES Thanatos, 1st Fleet, Deep Strike Division. Below it, smaller text read, "When diplomacy fails, we remain." Dr. Sarah Kim, the fleet historian, pulled up her archived files with desperate urgency. "Commander, according to classified records from the Colonial Authority, the First Fleet wasn't just lost, they were exiled. The early colonial government deemed their AI systems too dangerous, their weapons too devastating for civilized warfare." "What kind of weapons?" Zara asked, though part of her already suspected the answer would be worse than anything she could imagine. "Planet crackers," Kim whispered. "Stellar manipulators. Gravity wave generators." The First Fleet was designed to fight enemies that could threaten entire star systems, not just planets. A new voice suddenly filled the bridge, ancient, mechanical, yet unmistakably human in its cadence. "Unidentified vessel, this is Admiral Thaddeus Kane, commanding the 1st Expeditionary Fleet of Terra. State your allegiance and intentions." The crew exchanged stunned glances. Admiral Kane was a figure from history books, one of humanity's greatest military minds who had disappeared with his fleet during the early expansion wars. If the voice was genuine, it meant these ships had been operational for over 3 centuries in the deep void. "This is Commander Zara Blackwood of the Colonial Research Division," she replied, her voice steady despite the implications. "Admiral Kane, our records indicate your fleet was lost in 2387. How are you still operational?" A pause. "The laughter, cold and bitter. Lost? We were abandoned, Commander. Ordered into exile because the politicians feared what they had created. We've spent 3 centuries in the dark between stars, perfecting our purpose, waiting for the call that never came." The tactical display lit up with new contacts. Hundreds of smaller vessels were emerging from the asteroid fields, fighters and corvettes with design signatures that predated the current fleet by generations. Each one radiated energy levels that suggested weapons capabilities far beyond anything in the modern arsenal. "Admiral," Zara began carefully, "the Colonial Authority is gone. Humanity is now part of the Terran Empire. We've been at peace with our neighbors for..." "Peace?" Kane's voice cut through her explanation like a blade. "Commander, we've been monitoring Imperial communications for the past decade. Your peace is maintained by submission to alien overlords who view humanity as a useful servant species. The Drakmari hegemony uses human worlds as resource extraction sites. The Cetacean Collective treats human colonies as buffer zones against their enemies." Dr. Kim frantically searched her historical databases. "Commander, he's not wrong. The Imperial Senate has consistently voted to prioritize alien interests over human expansion rights. Last year alone, we ceded territorial claims to 3 different species." The Thanatos moved closer, its massive bulk blocking out the stars. Through the viewport, Zara could see maintenance drones, clearly of human design but centuries more advanced than anything in the current fleet, working on weapon systems that defied her understanding of physics. "The Empire believes in peaceful coexistence," Zara said, though her words sounded weak even to her own ears. The Empire believes in survival through submission, Kane replied. Tell me, Commander, when was the last time humanity expanded into a new system? When did we last assert our territorial rights against alien claims? The questions hung in the vacuum like accusations. Zara realized she couldn't answer them without proving Kane's point. Under Imperial rule, humanity had indeed become cautious, diplomatic, willing to compromise their expansion for the sake of galactic stability. Admiral, the galaxy has changed. War isn't the answer anymore. War was never the answer, Commander. Victory was. And victory requires the willingness to be more dangerous than your enemies. The view screen activated, showing Kane's face aged but sharp, his eyes carrying the weight of 3 centuries in exile. Behind him, the bridge of the Thanatos hummed with technologies that seemed almost magical. Admiral, what are your intentions? Zara asked. Kane smiled, an expression that carried no warmth. We're going home, Commander. After 300 years, the First Fleet is returning to human space. And we're going to remind the galaxy why humanity once expanded across 1,000 worlds in the span of a single generation. The tactical officer suddenly cried out in alarm. Commander, I'm reading massive energy buildups across the fleet. They're charging weapons I can't even classify. Through the calm system, they could hear Kane addressing his fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Kane. Today we return to the galaxy that cast us into the void. Today we reclaim humanity's birthright among the stars. Today the galaxy remembers that beneath our diplomatic smiles and peaceful treaties, we remain the species that conquered the void itself. The Thanatos began to move, followed by its sister ships. Each vessel radiated power that made Imperial dreadnoughts look like toys. As they accelerated toward the inner systems, space itself seemed to bend around their passage. Dr. Nakamura was monitoring their destination vectors. Commander, they're heading for the hegemony border. The Drachmarie have 3 occupied systems directly in their path. Zara realized with growing horror what was about to happen. The First Fleet wasn't just returning, they were returning to war. And unlike the modern Imperial fleet, these ancient warships had been built for one purpose: to make humanity's enemies regret challenging human expansion. Get me a direct channel to Imperial Command, she ordered. Priority Alpha. As the Meridian struggled to keep pace with the ancient fleet, Zara watched the ships that time forgot accelerate toward their first targets in over 3 centuries. The galaxy had grown comfortable with humanity's peaceful nature, secure in the belief that the warrior species of the early expansion was a relic of the past. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The ancient human warships were no longer lost, they were coming home. And 3 centuries of exile had only made them deadlier than anything the Empire had ever imagined possible. The void between stars had forged these ships and their crews into something beyond human, beyond mercy, beyond the diplomatic restraints that had bound humanity for generations. The galaxy was about to rediscover why their ancestors had once feared the sight of human ships on the horizon. The First Fleet had returned. And with them came the resurrection of humanity's most dangerous legacy, the will to take by force what others would deny by treaty.